Hello and welcome back to SJ Cartier Limited Convos, and today I'll be talking about a term that's new to me, culture vulture. And I'm going to kind of delve into what I've kind of understood from a culture vulture, which is mostly focused around the music business, and I kind of correlate that with a lot of life now. Yeah. So a culture vulture, I'm going to read what the argument is via Google. The argument to what a culture vulture is in the music business, a musician who appropriates aspects of another culture, typically a minority culture, and appropriates them for their own benefit without due credit or defense, is called a culture vulture. This phrase is sophisticated, multifaceted, and as old as music itself. So, simple definition to what I read in there is it's another artist who takes another culture's type of music, makes it as their own, and takes all the credit for it. So, in some ways, some people may say Central C at this moment in time is a culture vulture, but then from little things I'm seeing, he has come from an urban background, so he can't be a culture vulture. I'd say, is Tim Westwood a culture vulture? Because he took a lot of the urban music, urban artists, and made money via the music that these artists were making, and they didn't end up as rich and famous as Tim Westwood was, the man that just is playing their music. He took the culture and made money from the culture. And for me, I don't know where Tim Westwood's from, to be honest. I've never looked into it, I've never cared. But to be honest, he ain't from the hood, is he? From what I know. I'm going to look. Let me Google, where is Tim Westwood from? So yeah, it's somebody that actually takes music, Lowestoft, Peterborough. So the man's from Peterborough. I've been to Peterborough, it's by Leicester and that. Yeah? So the man's from Peterborough. Okay, so that means this man's from Peterborough, and he somehow happened to be able to find all these urban artists. That's that side, yeah, it's not far from Loughborough. So yeah, he took all these urban artists and he made a lot of money from them. And when he made a lot of money, a lot of these artists that went on Tim Westwood never made the money he made. Wasn't getting the recognition for the music that they are producing, they are making. Even to the people that made the beats, because he didn't even make the beats, yeah? And he was making all the profit and taking all the recognition for these urban artists, yeah? So, for me, a culture vulture, we believe, is just a musical thing. For me, it's not just musical. I think if we look at fashion now, I think that's some urban fashion, and there's a lot of brands out there now that are taking the urban fashion wear and making a lot of money from urban fashion wear, and they do not care about the urban lifestyle at all. Yeah? And if we understand that, I'm going to give you a little example in what I kind of get from that. See, when I was growing up I'm 36 now, so when I was growing up and I may have had a tracksuit on, I was someone that liked to be in my jeans and top and trainers, yeah? Casual wear. But when you was in your trackie, you get judged. And you get judged by a lot of grown-up people who would look at you in your trackie and presume you were a thug, yeah? A lot of these people are now wearing those same tracksuits. They are now buying their kids these same tracksuits. They are now styling their kids on social networks and promoting them in an urban way, even though they are completely not urban themselves. Where did that come from? Like, that's a culture vulture. I feel like that's a group of people looking into a culture, looking at what they do and taking it away. I'll give you another understanding for me, because as I say, I'm trying to overstand things in different complexities. So for me, a culture vulture again in a music game is someone that takes from the culture, yeah, doesn't give no respect to it, yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna take it to a place that is kind of like not what I'm on now, but it's something I can still look at because it's where I've come from. So selling drugs to me, feels like it's an urban thing, and it's not because it's what we want to do. It's just what we in the urban societies see the only option to do, and that's because a lot of these other formal places or these businesses won't take on people that are urban, but we obviously have a life and we want to live our life to the best, and we want to be able to look after our families and enjoy our life and enable ourselves to do whatever we want to do with our money. So because of that, we end up having to find other routes, and if that other route was robbing, stealing, selling drugs, that was the other route that we decided to take because it's what the urban culture kind of influenced for us. So when we listen to a lot of urban artists, they talk a lot about being on the road, they talk about being in jail, getting locked up, hating police, problems with women and numerous women, and you know what I'm trying to say? It's like that urban lifestyle of what we grew up around, yeah? When I say now I look at who used to sell drugs 15 years ago and I look at who sells drugs now, is that a very urban group of people? Or is that the culture as well, being culture vultured? As a little overstanding, little things to think on. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So we were actually had some type of culture that was a means for us to get through. And suddenly now when you look at the people that are doing the same thing as what we was doing then, who are they now? Look at who you may go and purchase your weed from. You know what I'm trying to say? So this culture vulture comes in many forms, yeah? There's many forms. I'll even look at another one. A lot of these urban films and gangster films, yeah? A lot of the biggest ones aren't urban productives, yeah? A lot of these biggest black comedy films, Friday, yes, that was a good film. That was urban created, yeah? But after that, where's the next urban created comedy films that is urban, that is made by urban people that have grew around this? A lot of these films we're watching to do with urban upbringings and the ghetto lifestyle are not people coming from an urban lifestyle. So do we also see that as culture vulturing? Yeah. And I'm going to flip it now on the other side, yeah, because this is why I'm actually doing the video. I've looked at a lot of ways that us as urban people that have come from certain lifestyles or grew up, and remember, urban doesn't mean the colour of your skin. Let's get that clarified as well, yeah? Urban does not mean the colour of your skin. Urban means you grew up in an urban background where not many people on your street really worked, where there wasn't a lot of jobs, places are hard to get, there's a lot of one parent owned families, there's a lot of people more than likely doing criminal behaviour that ends up with one or them, multiple of them going to jail or dying, yeah? So I'll give you an example. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a drug dealer. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a robber. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a businessman, yeah? In some areas now you go, there's a lot more people on that street that everybody has a working job. Everybody, yeah. 80-90% of people on that street have a working job. And then you will go to some areas in big cities as well where there's a lot of opportunities where 90% of people on that street don't have a job. Whether they are black, white, Asian, Polish, Chinese, they don't have it. So those are the people that I'm talking about when I refer to urban. I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about people that grew in societies where it was harder to make it in a non-urban living standard. Yeah. So I've looked at that, yeah, and I've looked at like how music, films, yeah, even to the illegal lifestyle and fashion. I've looked at a lot of things and thought, you know what, a lot of the leaders in these fields aren't urban people. When we look at even William Shakespeare, a lot of people aren't very aware that William Shakespeare didn't write most of his plays. It was actually a black man that wrote most of these plays, and William Shakespeare took the rights for this. And he is now one of the most well-known written playwrights. Yeah? So when we understand that that was even in from them days being a culture vulture, this is something that's been going on for days and days. Because even when we go to theatre, those masks that people laugh at people wearing in a lot of urban and rural places are the same masks that people wear as fashion when they're watching theatre shows or they're going to certain other things. Yeah? That's a culture vulture there. There's a lot of culture being zapped out of the urban community that isn't actually being aware of. Yeah? Then let's flip it now. I'm literally going to flip it now. Let's try us be urban and go into the other side and be culture vultures. Why don't we get that saying? Why aren't we able to actually be culture vultures? Because I ain't gonna lie, I'm trying to be a culture vulture now. Because what I'm doing, there's not a lot of people in my culture that understand or do what I'm doing. So antiques and vintage, yes, there's a lot of black people that do like antiques and vintage, but how many black businesses do you know that sell antiques and vintages? How many? Yeah. Because in the urban culture, it's not something we really focus on, is it? Unless it's, even if you saw a house, for me personally, I'm not someone that robbed houses, yeah, but there's people that would go into people's houses in urban societies, yeah, and some people would look for antiques and things, yeah. But the people that I knew that would go in houses looking for antiques and all those type of things were mostly from a white background, keeping it real, yeah. Most of the people that went and burgled, to be extremely honest, were from a white background, from what I know anyway, yeah. But if man are running in a house, man ain't running in the house for no antiques and vintage. Man ain't looking at no antiques and vintage. Yeah? So men don't know about those things because you could have seen £1 million antique sitting there and you don't even know about it. Man are looking at the rollers and man are looking at the gold. And in fact, those are the things that are the cheapest things in there. They're just keeping your money, but there's actually things around them that is actually worth millions and hundred thousands of pounds. So in the culture of urban societies, there's no understanding about antiques and vintage. Yeah. But I'm still going into antiques and vintage. Yeah. Comic books. There's loads of us black comic book readers and black comic book collectors. Yeah. But how many of these black comic book collectors and readers have comic book businesses? Yeah. Have comic book businesses. Yeah. Businesses. Yeah. Or are we just someone that is to pay for the comics in that culture? Because on the roads. Yes, a lot of us read like comics when we were growing up, but it seems if we walk around a Comic Con, you won't overly see too many. What's the word? You'd be surprised the people that collect comics. Put it that way. Yeah. You'd be surprised. Do you get that? And as I say, it's not overstanding that I'm talking as a black comic book collector. Let's talk about it as an urban thing now. Yeah. As urban comic collectors, how many urban comic businesses do you know that grew up in a ghetto urban lifestyle? Yeah. So we took it away from the black, where we can't think of none, because I can't think of none. I can think of one person actually. Reggie collects. That's the only one black person that I know that I believe has a comic business and is on YouTube. Yeah. He doesn't do much more videos. Big shout out to Keep It Comics as well. I'd like to see you do more videos as well. Yeah. So those are the few and minority, and nothing to say I'm judging the people that are comic book sellers at the moment or comic book businesses, but it's to understand the culture of some of these people. Yeah. They come from a different culture from that urban one, some of us. So I understood why I got problems doing antiques and vintage. I can understand why I've got problems doing comic books. Yeah. Bring it to now football cards, yeah. Tell man I'm collecting football cards. Man are saying if it ain't bloody worth money, what's the point? But I enjoy collecting football cards. Same as I enjoy collecting comics and keeping and maintaining antiques and vintage, whether people want to buy them this year or in 20 years. Yeah. But even in that, there's a bit more urban culture, but it's more of a still football ground culture. And if you've ever been to a football ground and football matches, you'd understand the culture that I'm on about. Because yes, there's a lot of urban people there. And a lot of, urban people, but there's a lot of working class people there. And the understanding of everybody when they're there, whether they're from an urban upbringing or anything else, is a British energy, I'd say. And British isn't always urban, even though urban is also British. Because there's a lot of urban English born people in this world. And as I say, a lot of us are becoming a lot more urban now. Yeah. So when I flip, and if you understand the flip I'm trying to get at, is why is it so easy for a culture vulture to take our music, take our films, take our fashion, actually go and not just do the legal stuff that we could be doing, but also then take the illegal stuff and suck the culture out of even the legal stuff to make snitching normal, as an example, because that's not an urban culture. Yeah. To make these things like, it's, you know what I'm trying to get at, like the culture's being sucked over there, but then when you're trying to actually get involved with what isn't naturally your culture, even though it is you, it's actually harder. So that's why I wanted to focus on Culture Vulture, because I found it quite funny that a lot of our culture's getting sucked for real and they're taking a lot of money from us. And you know what? I'm somebody actually that I'm not really, I'll invest in the culture because, as I say, I support a lot of the culture in any way that I'm possibly able to. But when it comes to trying to make yourself be something, like try and make something from the other culture, that they know it may not seem your culture because it's not my culture. It's just something I like to do. Just like a lot of people on the road now, they ain't really people that should be selling drugs. Like these people selling drugs 15 years ago, they wouldn't even think or consider selling drugs. And if they were, there would be major problems and things would be taken and yeah. But they feel comfortable to do it. So I feel comfortable to do what I'm doing over here because yes, it's not normally a black man doing antiques and vintage and comics and football cards and the variety of things that I am trying to do. Yes, there's black resellers, yeah, but they even still have to stick to certain types of products. They have to stay within the culture and do things that can also involve people within the culture that they know. So for me, as I say, a lot of people will say, why did you set up a business and do things that, you know, a lot of people that know you will buy? And that's because that's not what I'm trying to get involved in. I'm not trying to just do designer clothes and I'm not trying to just do big toms. Like, I would like to have big jewelry and big watches on there, but I'm not at that stage. You have to grow to this. Who's going to help me put 20 rollies, 20 cars, few Amigas, his and hers, Belchers, Tom? Who's going to help me do that? Yeah, because that's still not my culture anyway. Yeah, you get that? So who's going to help you get into that culture anyway? So to focus on what our culture wants, it's a lot of money. You know what I'm trying to say? It's a lot of money. And that's why a lot of people are able to suffer us in our culture, because what it takes to start these things and start a fashion label and be your own music artist and promote on your own music channel, it took money before. Yes, social media helps us now. So if you're an independent artist now, you don't need to be culture vulture, because yes, you could get cut out because they're not trying to play you, but the word on the streets is the word on the streets. And if you got an Instagram and TikTok, you can make tunes and people can hear your tune regardless whether they block your thing going out. People will hunt for you anyway. People are just looking. So they can't stop people from searching if you've got it. If you've got it. Yeah. Something I look at as I say with myself. If people weren't able to just find me randomly and buy what they wanted to buy, I'd realise what I've set up isn't working. But I know because people are able to find me without me having to put my word out every single day, that means that I'm able to continue with the business and continue to focus on areas that I know will interest people more to purchase. So, understanding why we are easily able to be vultured of our own culture and why aren't we able to vulture the culture ourselves is something we need to look at when we're looking at culture vultures. Yeah. And this is why I've done the little video, and I'm going to end that one there for now. And I'd like you to get in the comments and tell me where I may be wrong, and I may just be paranoid, let's say, as they like to say sometimes, or where you understand what I'm trying to get at. Like, it's easy for the other person to suffer the urban culture for money and give no props to the urban culture. But when you're trying to not suffer their culture, but enjoy the culture because it is actually part of you, it's not allowed for you because you're not from that culture. So things to second guess where we're heading and things to overstand when we actually look at the word culture vulture and how deep does it really go. So yeah, thank you for joining SJ Cartier Limited Convos today. I hope you have a good day.